I am speaking to you now, and I am not arriving too soon, nor am I delayed, for I am the one who holds every heartbeat, every pulse of time in my hands. I breathe purpose into each moment you exist, and I have set this hour apart for you alone. Do not allow yesterday's strength to carry the weight of your present season, for that burden is too heavy for what is unfolding now. Tonight, I have appointed as a threshold, a sacred doorway, a time where the unseen bends toward the tangible, and I am placing my words within the walls of your home like sunlight spilling through a cracked window, quiet, inevitable, and demanding your attention. You feel it already, the pull that makes you pause and ask if this is truly for you. Let me settle that doubt, it is for you. Open your heart and your awareness now, for I am the God who finds you exactly where you are and wraps instruction inside mercy, and mercy inside power. The night you will inhabit will not be ordinary, it will not be accidental. It is the precise culmination of months of preparation, years of longing, and the careful threading of unseen events that have aligned to bring this hour to your doorstep. And I am sending Archangel Michael to your threshold. He will stand as a sentinel between you and the fears that have shadowed your life. His presence is not meant to terrify, but to awaken. He will not shout, he will not brandish fire. Instead, he will ask your attention with the gentleness of a friend who knows you well and the firmness of a commander who carries the weight of heaven. He will wait for you to pause for only a moment, 2 seconds, and in that brief window, you will recognize that what calls is not fear, but protection, what knocks is not anxiety, but mercy. Have you noticed the signs that have whispered around you, the small objects in your home that seemed heavier than they ought, the clocks whose digits aligned in patterns that made no logical sense, the fleeting sense that someone or something was watching over you? This is the orchestration I have prepared. I have asked Michael to alert you, to bend his power into humility for your sake, to ensure you hear and respond. This is not happenstance. Every glance, every whisper, every quiet sensation has been calibrated to bring you to this moment. Tonight, the atmosphere of your home will shift. The old arrangements of sorrow and hope, once misplaced and layered in corners you could not reach, will be inverted. Hope will descend where despair has taken root, accessible without struggle, without stretching until your joints ache. And Michael will move with purpose through your rooms, pausing where old tears have dried, where old conversations have ended but left echoes. He will draw a line between the past that tried to name you and the true name I have spoken over your life. The doors in your heart that you have feared to open, those doorways behind which uncertainty and memory have lurked, will no longer hold their power over you. Where once shadows loomed, now only light will skim the edges, revealing the emptiness of fear. Shadows are not rulers in a home where I dwell. Tonight, your breath will obey hope, your spirit will find rest in courage that does not demand perfect circumstances, and your sleep will be guarded by a calm that surpasses understanding. There is specificity here, because I know you have been let down by words before, by promises that floated like incense and then vanished. Tonight, I am specific. There is a conversation waiting to unfold, a dialogue between your heart and the memories that have sat uninvited at your table, year after year. Michael is positioned at that table, standing firm, asking no more of you than to agree with me that you are not a hostage in your own home, that your nights are not tunnels without exits, and that the declarations I have spoken over your life cannot be overturned by the echoes of old voices. As you assent, you will hear a sound in your room, not loud to the ears, but heavy to the spirit. It is the turn of a lock, the opening of what fear once sealed. You will not notice the absence of noise, but you will notice that the noise no longer defines you. You will recognize that you are no longer the prisoner of old anxieties, of yesterday's regrets, of tomorrow's imagined storms. The winds will still blow, but your home will stand firm, rooted in foundations made from promises that have survived tempests far greater than you can imagine. Tonight, I am cutting through every tangled thread of doubt, every thorny what if, with one word, now. For now is where I dwell with you, and I am weary of watching you scatter your life into yesterday and tomorrow while ignoring the feast I have prepared in the present. I attend to the temperature of the room you sleep in, the tone of the voice that rises from your own thoughts. Hear me, I am lowering the temperature of shame and raising the volume of truth until accusation has no place to speak. Michael's presence is not an intrusion, but an awakening. He will not frighten you, he will illuminate. He will move through the corridors of memory, pausing where grief has taken root, where hope has been unreachable, where your courage has feared to tread. He will teach your home to exhale, your breath to obey hope, your nights to rest in resilience. He carries with him a fire that warms without consuming, a flame that burns away the false coverings you have draped over your spirit. You have peered at your life like a cautious observer at a rain-soaked window, hesitant to step into the storm for fear of embarrassment, for fear of failure, for fear that your courage is too small. But I am here, standing with you on the porch. I am teaching you to walk in the rain without allowing the rain to define you, to hold the umbrella of grace high enough to shelter those you love. Even as disappointment gathers in small puddles around you, I am bringing the sunrise that drinks the water and leaves the floor shining. And I am not distant from your needs, either. I see the bills on your table, the worries that press on your mind, the details of life that seem mundane but are vital. I am present in the practical, as I am present in the spiritual. Every corner, every object, every memory in your home tonight will be touched. Every fear that has lingered will be met, every hope that has been deferred will be placed within reach, and every tear that has dried will be honored and transformed. This night is not ordinary. The air you breathe, the floor you walk on, the walls that have witnessed your life, every piece is being reordered, recalibrated, reawakened. Michael is here, alerting you, urging you, asking you to pay attention for just a few seconds so that you may witness the opening of a new chapter. And as he moves, you will feel the shift, not dramatic, not loud, but profound, in the quiet, in the subtle, in the spaces where heaven meets your earthly reality. Michael stands at your threshold, alerting you. Your home, your heart, your very breath, are being realigned. Fear will retreat, hope will take its rightful place, and you will recognize that tonight is not coincidence, not dream, not passing fancy, but a carefully arranged visitation. The night deepens, yet within your home there is a quiet hum, a vibration beneath ordinary sound. The air feels different now, not heavy, not strange, but alive. The unseen has entered the visible. The walls themselves seem to listen, as though creation recognizes the presence of something holy unfolding. Archangel Michael stands at the doorway still, but his stance has changed. The brilliance that surrounds him no longer burns at the threshold, it softens, stretches, and begins to move inside. It is not light as you know light, but an awareness that fills the space with calm certainty. You might call it peace, yet it is more ancient than peace, it is the echo of divine order returning to what was once disordered. He steps forward. Each movement of his presence carries purpose. When he passes by a chair, the heaviness of memory lifts, when his shadow grazes the wall, shame loosens its grip. He does not carry a weapon, yet every inch of his being speaks of authority, authority not of conquest, but of restoration. He is not here to destroy your past, but to redeem it, to return to you what was taken by years of silent weariness. In the quiet, you will notice something subtle, the familiar sounds of your house, the ticking clock, the hum of distant traffic, the creak of the wooden floor begin to form a rhythm, as if all things are breathing together. It is heaven's pulse syncing with yours. It is the heartbeat of the eternal making itself known through the ordinary. You do not need to speak. You do not need to perform. The invitation tonight is to be still, for when Michael moves, silence becomes your language, and faith becomes your posture. He walks toward the center of the room, and where he stops, a shift begins that no human effort could engineer. He raises his hand not dramatically, but gently, and the air bends as though the molecules remember their maker. A faint sound like distant thunder rolls, yet there is no fear in it. It is the sound of barriers surrendering. You feel the pressure that once lived behind your ribs, the quiet panic, the unshed tears begin to lift, not vanish instantly, but loosen their hold, like a knot beginning to untangle. And then he speaks not aloud, but into the space between thought and breath. He says, "You have not been forgotten." The words are not sentences, they are vibrations that enter your bones, that enter the memory of your heartbeat. They echo through the rooms like an answer to questions you stopped asking. Every doubt you ever whispered into the darkness is being addressed now, not with explanation, but with presence. He continues, "This house has held echoes of battles that were never yours to fight alone. I am not here to remind you of what broke, but to reveal what endured. Look closely, the wounds you thought were proof of defeat are actually proof that you survived." And as these words sink in, something changes in the atmosphere. The temperature shifts, not cold, not hot, but right like the first morning after a storm when the earth smells clean again. The air feels honest. You will notice certain corners of the house becoming lighter. Not physically brighter, but emotionally lifted. The places where you have cried, where silence became too loud, begin to soften. Michael moves through these spaces not to erase your history, but to breathe redemption into it. Every sigh you ever released in exhaustion, every night you lay awake bargaining with hope, every memory that made your stomach tighten, all of it is being rewritten by grace. You may feel the impulse to do something, to pray louder, to command, to move, but heaven whispers, "Stay still." For this is not a battle for your strength, it is a ceremony of alignment. The divine is arranging the unseen architecture of your life while you breathe. Michael now turns his gaze toward what cannot be seen with eyes. He looks through the invisible corridors of time, through the choices, the regrets, the unspoken promises. He touches them not with judgment but with light. The past that you've replayed like a broken record begins to fade into quiet. The weight of guilt that once lived inside your name begins to dissolve. Then he speaks again. The name you've called yourself in your lowest moments is not the name heaven knows you by. You have called yourself unworthy, forgotten, delayed, but heaven calls you chosen, beloved, and right on time. At that, you will feel a resonance, a deep internal vibration, as if your soul nods in agreement before your mind can protest. You will feel it not in words, but in release. A long, slow exhale. Michael moves toward your window now. The night outside is still, but the stars seem to shimmer differently, as though aware of what is happening inside. He lifts his hand again, and you feel a warmth, gentle, radiant, spread across the room. You realize this is no ordinary visitation, this is heaven reclaiming ground, redefining space. And then, in the stillness, he says, "Do you hear that?" You listen. There's no thunder, no choir, only the ordinary sounds, the faint wind, the ticking of time. But somehow, they are enough. They sound like hope. He says, "Every ordinary sound tonight is sacred." For the divine does not need spectacle to be real, it needs only your attention. He begins to walk through each room, touching not with hands, but with presence. He moves through the kitchen where you've spoken your worries aloud to no one. He moves through the hallway where you've passed by mirrors without wanting to look. He moves through the bedroom where dreams once died quietly, and he whispers life back into them. He walks through every inch of space, claiming it not as a battlefield, but as holy ground. And then he stops beside you. You may not see him clearly, but you will know he is there. The temperature of the room will tell you, the stillness of the air will confirm it. You might feel something brush the edge of your awareness, like warmth hovering an inch above your skin. That is him, his wings close enough to remind you that heaven is not distant. He says softly, "This is the hour of rearrangement. What once seemed final will become flexible. What was closed will open. What was silent will sing again." And in that moment, something hidden deep inside you responds. It is not your mind, it is your spirit. The part of you that always knew you were not abandoned begins to rise. You will feel it as quiet courage first, then as confidence, and then as peace. Michael looks at you not as a soldier looks at a recruit, but as a brother looks at one newly awakened. There is tenderness in his strength, and when he speaks again, his tone carries both command and compassion. Do not confuse peace with passivity. Peace is not weakness, peace is the proof of victory. Tonight, you are standing on ground that your ancestors prayed for. Do not let old voices convince you that you are still bound. You are not waiting for freedom, freedom has already entered your house. And as those words settle, you will feel it, a subtle quake beneath your feet. Not physical, but spiritual. The kind of tremor that happens when foundations shift, when invisible chains lose their hold. It will be brief but unmistakable. That is the sound of alignment. That is heaven anchoring your home into its rightful order. Then Michael steps back, and for a moment, the room feels larger, as if walls have expanded to make space for something eternal. You realize this night was not about fear being removed, it was about presence being restored. You are not alone in your house anymore. You never were. But tonight, awareness replaces ignorance, and stillness replaces striving. The Archangel does not leave immediately, he lingers not because he must, but because he desires that you know what peace feels like before the dawn comes. And he says one final thing before the next phase of your awakening begins: rest now. The rearrangement is not finished, but it no longer depends on your effort. Tomorrow will know your name differently than yesterday did. And with that, the air shifts once more. The sacred presence remains, but softer, gentler, like the calm after a long-awaited rain. The night hums with quiet gratitude, and somewhere within the silence, you sense it deeply: heaven is not a faraway realm tonight. Heaven has entered your home. The night stretches onward, yet inside your home, time feels different. It has slowed, not as a weight, but as a gift. The air is alive with awareness, humming with the quiet certainty that something ancient and deliberate is moving through the walls. Michael is no longer only at the threshold, he walks through your spaces with measured steps, each one precise, each one intentional. His presence bends the ordinary into extraordinary, the unseen into the tangible. He stops in the living room. The furniture, the pictures on the wall, the faint dust on the corners, they all seem to breathe under his gaze. Then he turns toward you, and his voice enters the room like a river of light: "I am Michael. I have come tonight not as a shadow, not as judgment, but as a guide. I am here to awaken what has been asleep, to uncover the spaces your fear has hidden from you. Look closely, your home, these walls, this floor, even this air, none of it is too small for heaven's touch." The room feels larger, though it has not changed physically. Something shifts within you, a quiet knowledge that fear does not hold dominion here. Every corner that once whispered doubt now trembles with possibility. Michael steps to the window and gestures toward the darkness outside, and you feel it, the night itself is listening, bending toward the work being done inside. Do you see the weight you have carried, he asks. It was never yours to bear alone. Every worry, every sorrow, every memory that haunted your steps, I carry it with you now, not to overwhelm, but to release. Tonight, you will feel what it is to be supported by power that does not tire. And as he speaks, you notice subtle movements in the room. A shadow shifts along the corner of the wall. A faint glimmer of light travels across the ceiling, like a ribbon of hope unfolding. He walks toward the place where your sadness has lingered longest, perhaps the bedroom where you lie awake at night replaying words you cannot forget. Here is where courage begins, Michael says. It is not loud. It does not demand perfection, it is a quiet flame that asks only for your recognition. Breathe, child. Let your breath become the instrument through which hope enters fully. And you do breathe. Slowly at first, then deeper. The air fills your lungs with something new, something unseen but undeniably real. A warmth rises from your chest, not burning, but steady, like a fire whose purpose is illumination, not destruction. The house itself seems to acknowledge this change. The floorboards no longer groan under past burdens, the walls no longer hold the echoes of regret. Michael moves toward the kitchen now, his presence gentle but undeniable. The dishes, the counters, the table where your daily life unfolds, he passes over them as if blessing every ordinary task. Do you understand, he says. Every act, every routine, every small motion you perform has been seen, has been cherished, has been noticed. The mundane is holy tonight. The ordinary becomes extraordinary because heaven attends to it. He pauses, and you notice a flicker of light near the ceiling. It is not a lamp. It is not reflected. It is a presence, alive, aware, as if the room itself is breathing. You have asked why signs have been around you, why small objects seemed heavier, why moments felt charged with quiet electricity, he continues. This is why. I am here to awaken your perception, to tune your heart to the rhythm of what is truly real. And you will not need to chase it. Attention is enough. Recognition is enough. He walks through the hallway, and the air seems to follow him, like a tide that knows its course. The rooms he passes through, the spaces where tears have fallen, where laughter has been scarce, where silence was heavy, each begins to breathe again. You feel the past settling, not vanishing, not erased, but reoriented toward healing. Tonight, Michael says, you will see that fear is not king. Fear is a shadow, and shadows cannot rule where light stands. I will show you how to recognize fear without surrendering to it, how to meet it with courage that is already inside you. You have carried too much for too long, and now it is time to set it down. He pauses at your bedroom door. The room that holds your dreams, your anxieties, your private sorrows, is now a threshold of transformation.